There is a moment every single morning that most people sleep through, a window so sacred, so charged with divine electricity that the angels themselves are said to be most active during its hours. It is the hour before the world wakes up, before the notifications begin, before the noise of life drowns out the whisper of God. It is 5 a.m. And if you have never understood why certain believers seem to carry an unusual grace, why some people walk into rooms and atmospheres shift, why some Christians seem to attract favor without straining or struggling, that the answer may be hidden in what they do in the early hours of the morning while you are still asleep. The Bible is not silent about this. David said in Psalm 63, "O God, you are my God, early will I seek you." He did not say occasionally. He did not say when it is convenient. He said early. There is something about the word early that carries weight in the spirit realm. It is a declaration of priority. It is telling God that before the world gets my attention, before my job gets my energy, before my family gets my focus, you get the first and the best of me. And God, who sees and rewards what is done in secret, responds to that kind of intentionality in ways that will leave you speechless. Scientists have studied the early morning hours and discovered that the human brain between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. operates at a frequency that is unusually open, unusually receptive, unusually sensitive to input. What the world does not know is that God designed that window on purpose. He wired your biology to align with your spirituality. He made your mind most pliable, most absorbent, most impressionable at the exact same hour. He has always called his people to seek him. This is not a coincidence. This is divine architecture. When you rise at 5 a.m. and you open your mouth in prayer, you are not just talking into empty air. You are stepping into a frequency, a channel of access that has been prepared and preserved specifically for those who are willing to pay the price of early rising. Most people will never experience the supernatural difference that this makes because most people are not willing to be uncomfortable. They choose the warmth of their blankets over the warmth of God's presence, and then they wonder why their days feel chaotic, why they feel spiritually dry, why they go through the motions of Christianity without ever experiencing the power of it. But you are watching this video because something in you is hungry. Something in you is tired of average. Something in you knows that there is more, and that more begins at 5 a.m. Now here is where it gets serious, and you need to stay with me, because what I am about to share with could be the most important spiritual insight you receive this year. The reason most people who try to wake up early for prayer fail is not because they lack discipline. It is because they do not understand that there is an active spiritual resistance against the early morning prayer life. The enemy of your soul is not afraid of your Sunday church attendance. He is not particularly threatened by your occasional prayer before meals. But the moment you begin to consistently rise before dawn to seek the face of God, something shifts in the atmosphere around you, and that shift triggers opposition. You will suddenly feel more tired than you have ever felt in your life. Your bed will feel more comfortable than it has ever felt. Your alarm will feel more irritating than it has ever felt. These are not random occurrences. These are targeted distractions designed to keep you from accessing the golden window of divine communion. The teacher and apostle Joshua Selman has spoken extensively about this principle, explaining that every great move of God in a person's life can often be traced back to a season of consistent early morning, desperate prayer. It is in those quiet hours when the flesh is weak and the will must override comfort that God deposits something into the spirit of a man or woman that cannot be gotten any other way. The structured 5 a.m. prayer pattern rooted in scripture begins with thanksgiving, not requests. You enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Before you bring your needs, before you bring your list, before you bring your worries, you spend the first 10 minutes simply acknowledging who God is. Then you move into the word. You read slowly, not to finish chapters, but to hear. You give God permission to speak through what you are reading. Then you intercede, first for yourself, then for your family, then for your calling and purpose. And this is the part that most devotionals leave out, you wait. You sit in silence and you listen. Because prayer is not a monologue. It is a conversation. And God has things to say to you that will only come in the stillness of 5 a.m. Things about your direction, your decisions, your destiny that you will miss if you never learn to be quiet before him. The suspense of the Christian life is this: you do not know what God has been waiting to tell you until you finally create the silence for him to speak. What happens after a consistent 5 a.m. prayer life is not something that can be fully explained with natural language. People around you will begin to notice something different about you before you even notice it yourself. Your countenance changes. The confusion that used to dominate your decision making begins to lift. Doors that were shut begin to open, not because you pushed harder, but because you prayed deeper. The scripture says in Isaiah 4:31 that those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Waiting on the Lord is an active posture of early morning surrender. It is showing up before the sun does and saying, God, I cannot do this day without you. It is restructuring your entire morning around the reality that without divine empowerment, everything you build will be built on sand. Praying at 5 a.m. does not make you religious. It makes you dangerous. It makes you the kind of person that hell has a file on. It makes you the kind of believer that answers prayers before they are fully prayed, because you have spent so much time in God's presence that his mind and your mind begin to align. The supernatural difference that early communion with God makes is not theoretical. It is not motivational filler. It is the testimony of every revivalist, every prophet, every ordinary man and woman who ever walked in extraordinary grace. They all had one thing in common. They met God before they met the world every single day. So here is the challenge that this teaching leaves with you. For the next 30 days, set your alarm for 5 a.m. Do not negotiate with yourself in the moment. Do not check your phone first. Get up, get into a quiet place, and begin to pray with structure and with sincerity. Watch what God does to your life, your peace, your purpose, your provision, and your relationships when you give him the golden window of your morning. The version of you that the world needs has been waiting in the prayer room at 5 a.m. all along. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.